Okay, Caleb Williams is going to be a Chicago Bear. He is dynamic. He can run the RPO package that Chicago likes to run. He's fast. He's elusive. He's strong-armed. He's on the move. He's got great leadership capabilities. So Caleb Williams goes number 1 to Chicago. I'm not sure what's fact or fiction, the Jayden Daniels LSU story. They are dropping hints. He does not want to go to the Washington Commanders at number 2. He hasn't issued the thing, I won't play for you, like the Eli Manning issue that became the Phillip Rivers trade. He's not gone that far, but everybody around him in a circle is dropping hints. He doesn't want to play for them. He wants to play for Antonio Pierce with the Raiders because they were together at Arizona State. But that's a hell of a price for the Raiders to try to go from 13 all the way to the number 2 spot. I just don't know that that is doable. I will say this, Daniels is a more complete quarterback right now under Brian Kelly than he was in his days at Arizona State. He's athletic. He can move. He likes to throw on the run. Jayden Daniels has really proven to be a pretty good player. And the fact that he accomplished some phenomenal statistical seasons in the Southeastern Conference where they play big boy defense, that's really impressive. And he's risen the board. He just doesn't want to play in Washington. Now, he might wind up playing in New England at number 3, which desperately needs a quarterback. Third quarterback is Drake Maye, North Carolina. His stock has dropped some. I don't think it's got so much to do with the meetings that he's had, but he didn't play as well this past season, his junior year, as he played when he lit up the Atlantic Coast Conference as a sophomore. I think there's some concern that he's got mechanical flaws, but that never bothered Phillip Rivers, arm angle and all that. And he's big and he's a stud. I've had one scout tell me this guy is the next Ben Roethlisberger, and he can run some. Other people say, boy, there's a bunch of glitches. You're going to have to tear down a bunch of his mechanics to make him a more complete player. So Drake Maye's stock right now is not what it was at the end of the season. J.J. McCarthy, live arm, smart guy, fierce competitor, played on a great team. Burning question. Can the Michigan quarterback carry a bad NFL team? Because he's going to get drafted by a bad NFL team. So the jury there is still a little bit out. Michael Penix, University of Washington. He's been injury-free 2 years in a row. I don't know that you can hold against him what happened to him at Indiana and downgrade him in the draft, because you base the draft on what he produced 2 years in Seattle, and that was spectacular. Cannon for an arm, good with the deep ball, moves the pocket. Now, that being said, you don't want him running. But again, look at Miami. Tua ran a lot at Alabama. Tua ran early in his career with the Dolphins and got hurt. Tua became a really good, proficient pocket passer. I think Penix could be like Tua. I think Penix's stock has risen some. Bo Nix, they're using the word systems guy against him. Smart cookie, to a degree questionable arm strength, can make all the throws short and under crossing pattern, tremendous degree of accuracy, but I don't know about going deep, whether Bo Nix is really going to be a successful big-time NFL quarterback. So those are the guys that are going to go in the first round. In the second round, Spencer Rattler from South Carolina, his grade has gone up, although he's not 6'5". That's an issue. Quarterback from Tulane has put up phenomenal numbers over 2 years. A move the pocket guy. He's probably going to wind up being a second round draft pick there. So that's the situation with the quarterbacks. And again, we couch everything in that cloud of lies because there's lies everywhere. John, your response to the quarterback story.
Well, why doesn't Jayden Williams want to go to Washington, D.C.? I mean, it's a new ownership. It's the nation's capital. Remember back in the 80s with Joe Gibbs? I mean, the Washington Redskins were a terrific team, had a huge fan support across the nation. Why not go to D.C.?
Bad team.
They're all bad teams.
Very few skilled people.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterbacks just got pounded. I mean, last season, what happened to Sam Howell, the second-year quarterback at North Carolina, 69 quarterback sacks. Not a very good offensive line, not much in terms of the running game, although they did add Austin Eckler now in the offseason. It's going to be a building process. I don't know why the grudge, because he could come in and be the guy and just hope they build around him, and they will build around him because Josh Harris has a good reputation as a professional sports owner. That being said, I don't know that he can navigate his way to join Antonio Pierce because the Raiders are so far back, and the price they'd have to pay to go from 13 to 2 would probably take him out of the rest of the draft and probably next year's draft too. So I don't know that Jayden Daniels has much to say. What's your take on all of a sudden the negatives around Drake Maye? And is there a real question about JJ McCarthy?
JJ McCarthy just strikes me as obviously a great athlete, good team guy, but I don't think he's the savior for a franchise. Drake Maye looked impressive in some of the games, but admittedly, I didn't watch a lot of North Carolina. But if he is anything like Roethlisberger, that sounds like a terrific pick.
And Roethlisberger was not a proven product coming out of Miami of Ohio. There are a pile of glitches about there, but look what he became.
Yeah, it was a tremendous story. The other name that you brought up was Spencer Rattler, and that's interesting because he was the starter at Oklahoma before he got displaced by Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. So. And he was such a hot commodity as a freshman quarterback there because he was featured on these quarterback shows that were on Netflix and everything else. But his stock really dropped a lot. It's interesting that he's kind of having a little resurgence.
Let's see where this goes. You can make it as a second-round pick. Hell, you can make it as a sixth-round pick.
Yeah.
AKA Brock Purdy, and prior to that, Tom Brady. Fascinating. But it's my favorite philosophy, NFL's quarterback league. If you got a quarterback, good for you, John Riley. And John Riley, if you don't have a quarterback, you better go find a quarterback.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why all this is going on with all those guys. That's football. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, John Cooper, Our Lads Draft Guide, will be with us as a co-host, and we'll get his draft board thoughts.